Okay, this is the first part of the Cinebinge Blu-ray collection series. Yeah, we're doing these in parts because this is my channel and we're playing by my rules. And also, there's not much that ticks me off more than a Blu-ray or DVD collection video like this.
Hey gang, I know 3 weeks ago I uploaded a video going through my entire DVD collection, but I've recently acquired the first Bad Boys film, special edition, on DVD, so I figured I'd take that opportunity to snag up some extra ad revenue and just go through the whole thing again. So without any further ado, we got Bad Boys, we got Snoopy, we've got Constantine, we've got Firefly, the whole series. We've got the first season of Friends, Italian Job, The Passion of the Christ, the Purple Rain, Monty Python and the Holy Grail, Shark Week, Jaws of Steel Collection, Essential, and the first Transformers movie. And that's the video, guys. Thanks so much for watching. We've got more videos like this one on the way. Speaking of like, make sure you like this video, like us on Facebook, follow me on Twitter, also Patreon.
I guess some people don't realize that time could be saved on both ends if they were just to make like a written list. I could just write out all of the movies that they own. And hey, guess what? I did that. Down in the description is a list of all the films that are going to be discussed in this video. Also a link to an IMDb list that has links to all of the IMDb listings so that you guys can check out some trivia and the like there on anything we're going to be talking about here. At this moment, I own exactly 125 IMDb listings on Blu-ray, which is insane. But if you can't tell, I kind of have a problem. I'm kind of an addict. Kind of. But anyway, 125 splits 5 ways real nice, so we're gonna go in 25 movie increments, and you know, well, that'll be five videos to cover the core collection, and then we can just go from there with every 25 films that I purchase. So you know, this series really has no end within sight. Because I have a problem. So my point is, I'm going to take my time with this. I'm going to discuss each one of these films and their Blu-ray release at least a little bit, rather than just holding up the case and saying that I own it. I think every film here deserves something of an explanation as to why I felt it was worthy of purchase. So without further ado, we're starting off with an essential film. Essential. I mean, we're talking like if you're from some kind of Amish culture looking to experience modern life, and you're only going to watch maybe 10 movies ever, 12 Angry Men, it's got to be one of them, because this movie applies to everyone. And it's fantastic. Sidney Lumet, who of course is known for his ability to work with actors, one of the great directors in my mind. And this one's pretty well regarded as one of his best, and rightfully so. Criterion, love it. They always do a good job putting together a package. Always put together a quality release. The essay on this one is just kind of fine. I mean, they're always good. I'm not saying that anybody who hasn't read it yet needs to be rushing out for this one, and you can find them online anyway, so that's not really, you know, that doesn't have that much pull for me when I'm making a purchase on one of these, you know, super Blu-ray packs. The movie itself, a little grainy, but hey, what can you ask for? It's about as good as I think this film is ever going to look. And like I'm saying, essential film. This one shows up on all kinds of lists. I think it's received the credit that it's due. but it gets my approval as well. It's a type of movie that you can use as an example in all kinds of situations. So that's it. 12 Angry Men, alphabetical, by the way, and 21 Jump Street. Now, I'm not going to pretend like this is some kind of Oscar-worthy film. Like this is one of the greatest films of this decade. I got this thing for like $5, and it makes me laugh. Channing Tatum, just about the best thing he's done outside Foxcatcher, and Jonah Hill's always a good time. And the guys behind this, in charge of like the Lego Movie and of course the sequel, nobody's doing satire like these guys. So there's that to boot. This movie, pretty great. The sequel, even better. I'm yet to add that to my collection. But, this one's a lot of fun. It says a lot about the modern hipster high school culture. And that's it. That's it. 21 Jump Street. Ice Cube. I'm a sucker for Ice Cube. He's one of my heroes. A movie that I think could be recognized as more valuable all around. The one type of movie you could justifiably give a better score to. 500 Days of Summer. This is a great movie. A great romantic comedy, a great date movie, and just an all-around great movie. The way that, if you're unfamiliar with it, it follows Joseph Gordon-Levitt's infatuation with Zooey Deschanel's character over the course of 500 days, but not in chronological order. And the way that they juxtaposition certain points in their relationship with others, it's pretty effective. There's a neat contrast there that really brings out what's going on at one point versus another. Plus, it's also just a really, really fun romantic comedy film. Great soundtrack, great hipster movie. That's what this is. There's at some point someone sings a Pixies song. They talk about like the Beatles, the Smiths. I seem to remember at some point there was a Red House Painters poster in the background somewhere. I could be wrong about that. Anyway, the soundtrack to this thing is a lot of fun, and it's a pretty smart movie. Not exactly perfect, but the type of thing that someone like me can watch with the girl and feel all right about, because there's some artistic value to this, and it's not necessarily I don't want to say a woman's movie, but it's a movie for everyone. Let's just say that. Another great date movie in my mind, not necessarily a great movie, but hey, that's one of the things I want to get at with this, is that every Blu-ray collection should have a personality to it. And while there are a lot of movies up here that aren't there are movies I don't own on Blu-ray that are better than a lot of the movies that I do, but for one reason or another, I enjoy each of these. And that's the story with The Adjustment Bureau. Matt Damon he's got a knack for delivering just solid 7 out of 10. I really enjoyed this movie, even though it's not an Oscar winner kind of flicks. Also, Emily Blunt. Between the two, we've just got so much charisma going on here. And I think that the whole choosing between a life of relevance or a life of happiness idea really hasn't been done as much as it could have done in movies so far. Adjustment Bureau explores that, and it's got a fun element to it. The idea is there's kind of like these puppet masters behind the scenes of every major decision, that there's the idea of destiny, that there are people setting a path for you, and hey, what happens when you try to defy that? I guess I'm making it out to sound a little deeper than this thing actually is, but it's fun, and like I'm saying, a good date movie. This thing's PG-13, but very mellow PG-13 movie, more just PG-13 in its I guess theme. Hey, American Beauty, gorgeous film, and what I'd like to call excessively artistic. That's what we're going with. American Beauty, is a movie with a pretty profound message to it, but also one that just, everybody can watch and be like, hey, that was entertaining. Sort of like the middle-aged man's Fight Club. Kevin Spacey, big fan of the guy. This is probably the best thing he's ever done, and that's including House of Cards, which I watch even to this day just for him. The visuals in this thing, and the whole end sequence, the final portion of this film is perfect. Talk about a debut from director Sam Mendes, who has a very nice visual touch to his work. This is probably the best thing he's done so far, but hey, that's all right. I actually watched this movie yesterday. Still good. Borderline pretentious in some scenes, but it does a good job manipulating you in a lot of scenes. The fluffy music, Thomas Newman, he's delivered some pretty incredible scores, and I think that it really brings together a nice experience with American Beauty. Also nice to see a couple characters with eyebrows that rival the magnificence of yours truly. Man, you like American Psycho? This is a movie that I enjoy quite a bit, but you sort of have to be a certain type of person for that. Check out the Huey Lewis and the News scene. Just check that out on YouTube. Maybe I'll put a link in the description if there's some kind of officially endorsed clip on YouTube. If you think that scene's amazing, then you're gonna love American Psycho. This movie's supposed to be funny. All kinds of good stuff here. Not a perfect movie, but it does have a statement on, kind of like that the sense of consumerism, narcissism among the elite business class, and this is some of Christian Bale's best work, and that's something that I don't say lightly, because the guy's put in some quality shit over the years. And going back to the Huey Lewis and the News scene, that's one of the best uses of any song in any movie ever. And I have a special place in my heart for Huey Lewis and the News. So, really do dig it. Also, dig the movie Argo, which I think some people have a bias against, because whenever a movie that's not necessarily a crowd pleaser wins Best Picture, there's always some backlash. But I'm rooting for this thing. I was rooting for this thing the whole time, because I honestly, Ben Affleck is one of my favorite directors working today. I've seen all of his movies so far. This is easily his best, but I have really enjoyed everything he's done. He's definitely got a style to him. It's easy to take his films seriously, but they can also have their fun little moments. They're very much movies that take me on kind of like an adventure, but they're grounded enough to bring me in. I'm a sucker for crime movies. Maybe that's why I dig it. But hey, look, John Goodman, Bryan Cranston, on top of Ben Affleck, who is a solid actor in his own right. even though I would dare say that he's a better director than an actor. This is a fun movie. Okay, this is a good movie. I don't know if fun's the right word for it. And I love the way that it doesn't so much thrive on action so much as will there be violence? Will there be an action sequence? And the way the movie holds out on you that way, I really appreciate. I think this movie was all around really well done. And as someone who loves movies, who loves to produce videos, I love movies about movies. And the whole idea of a group of people pretending to be a film crew on a location scout in order to escape a violent country, that's just awesome. Oh, this is kind of embarrassing. So I own James Cameron's Avatar on Blu-ray. I've seen this movie twice. The first time, let's see, when did this come out? 2009. Yes. Well, let's just say I was just the right age for this thing when it first came out, and I thought it was amazing. Amazing. Since then, my opinion of it has diminished. But nobody does blockbusters quite like James Cameron. And while I don't think this is his best work necessarily, it's still a pretty incredible movie. It's a little dated. I think some people like to stretch how dated it is, because it still does look pretty dang good. I think this movie takes you to a completely different world in a way that few other films can, and owning this thing on Blu-ray over any other format, I guess maybe 4K. Let's just hope that doesn't catch on, because. So here's a nice marketing scheme. Robert Zemeckis been playing us since 1985 with this trilogy. I only need one of these movies. The first Back to the Future movie is fantastic. It's one of the most likable films of all time. It's great. It's got great characters. It's got universal appeal. It's stylish. It's really fun. It's got a great soundtrack. The sequels are worth a watch if you're as big a fan of the first movie as I am. But they love to, sneak them in there and make the first movie only available through purchase of the trilogy, and that's it. This is the 25th anniversary edition, which we got the 30th out now. As far as I can tell, the 30th comes with like another bonus disc. But I'm happy with this. Let's talk about this release for a second, because this is interesting. Slipcover. I'm not a slipcover person. If you haven't noticed, I keep them. If I accumulate too many, I will probably end up throwing them out, which might make some of you cry. It's not like I own anything that's incredibly rare. Okay, so here we go. Nice discs. I think it's got a nice look to it. The bonus features on these are decent. You got about everything that I'm looking for as far as Back to the Future goes. We got the Power of Love music video on Blu-ray. That's great. Again, Huey, my boy. A couple deleted scenes, lots of fun stuff, commentary. I've looked at a lot of this, and it's fun if you love the movie. It's not something that I'm like, this makes it the definitive release of the film. Do you know what I hate most about this thing? The Universal saw fit to include the trailer to the Minions movie on each of these discs. So I'm happy to now own 3 copies of the Minions movie trailer in glorious 1080. HD Blu-ray quality. That's it. That's Back to the Future. You know, for all my bitching, the first Back to the Future movie is so great that I'm okay with paying whatever, like $20-$25 just to own that on Blu-ray. And the restoration looks great. So there we go. Back to the Future. Who the hell hasn't seen Back to the Future? Of all these films, I'm just gonna come clean. If you haven't seen any of these movies, and you're gonna watch one of them, Back to the Future. I've been pretty vocal, I feel, on expressing my disdain with the superhero genre. I think that it's grown kind of stale. I think that most of the movies are blending together, that they're becoming formulaic. But, I mean, we all gotta respect Nolan's Dark Knight trilogy, and Batman Begins is among the best superhero films ever made, and an all-around great movie to begin with. It explores an interesting character that's Batman, and there's more to it than just, oh, I recognize that from the comic book, therefore I love this. Batman Begins, I believe this is the first movie I bought on Blu-ray, and while that was some time ago, I think that testifies to its quality as a film. So, Batman Begins. Let's talk about a guilty pleasure of mine. Just gonna lay it on you. I'm a sucker for animated DC films. DC Comics, a lot of them are terrible, but Batman The Dark Knight Returns is the best of the bunch. Some people are going to throw out Batman Mask of the Phantasm, but we're just going to step back into reality for a minute and talk about this film, which was originally released in 2 parts. This release combines them seamlessly into one feature that's, I believe, well over 2 hours, which by animated superhero film is of epic standards. The source material on this thing is amazing, and they essentially just made it film. They transmitted the Frank Miller's comic book into a motion medium, because that's a thing, and it really works. Again, the Dark Knight Returns comic book is a amazing piece of media. If you're ever interested in maybe making an effort to fall in love with comic books, that's a great place to start. It's among the best comic books ever penned. Now, back to this thing. This movie is well beyond the standard of the current DC cinematic universe, to say the least. I honestly think this thing is pretty great, but again, I'm sort of biased. Very dark. The score is a little more impressive than you'd expect from this kind of thing. I guess it has it's a wish fulfillment kind of film where you get to see really the conclusion to Batman. Hey, well, at some point this is going to culminate in some kind of showdown, and this is it. Batman's old. The Dark Knight Rises took a lot of inspiration from this comic book. If you're a Batman fan, this is an essential watch. Now, talking about the release, as I said, it combines the 2 films into one, so I'm counting this as owning 2 films on Blu-ray, whatever. Sort of weird that they actually have, it's a DVD Blu-ray combo. Hey, that's always great. But they actually have these deep spindles that can hold 2 discs. Which I'm honestly okay with, as long as the discs don't have a chance of getting scratched. It's all cool, and I just keep the special features under the main, and we're all happy. Also, for any Batman the Animated Series fans out there, this release actually includes, I believe, 4 episodes from the animated series. 2 of them, I know it's got the Two-Face episodes, which are great. In my mind, the animated series is great. It's a little overrated, but still great to own that on Blu-ray. They haven't released the series on Blu-ray, and while the episodes aren't of any higher quality or standard than what you'll find on the DVD releases, it's cool to just have them printed on a Blu-ray disc, which is a much more durable and lasting format in my book. I mean, if you get a scratch on a Blu-ray disc, you're screwed. But the protective coating makes sure that, hey, that's pretty unlikely that's going to happen anytime soon, unless you've got a shitty triple feature packaging that's just designed for that to eventually happen. Tim Burton's Big Fish, best movie from the guy, hands down. This movie is a celebration of tall tales, and I don't know if there's anybody more suited for that than Burton. And it's very weird in the way only he is, but not full Burton. It's not the kind of thing that only he could possibly enjoy. Big Fish, it's a very interesting film visually. There are a lot of fun moments within it. And all around, I think it's a really fun movie, the kind of thing that this guy was born to make. The type of movie that, if you're going to own, Blu-ray. Because it's about those visuals. For now, that's all I got to say, but I think this movie's great. Big Lebowski. Top 10 movies of all time. I don't say that lightly. I made a list, and this movie is on it because it's incredible. One of the Coen brothers' best, and we're talking about the Coen brothers, who are already among the best. So this movie is fantastic. It's hilarious. It's intelligently structured. It's got great characters. It's quotable. It's well shot. Roger Deakins, my man. All you guys who were complaining about DiCaprio not having won an Oscar up until recently need to go check out the work of Roger Deakins. This guy, he's a cinematographer, and his body of work is astonishing. And I believe he's been nominated like 11 or 12 times without winning. He did this movie. He did a comedy, and it looks phenomenal. Not in like an intrusive, like this movie looks so good that it distracts from the film at hand. It just looks really, really good. But back to what the Coen brothers bring to this thing. It's weird because I'll knock other comedies that use their plot as a means at just getting to a joke, but with the Coen brothers, it works because it's so apparent that they don't have to take that route. They're choosing to do so, and that's the correct choice for this particular movie. You know what? This thing's hilarious. I love it. And again, like I'm saying, there's a really intelligent, Big Lebowski. It's kind of a stupid movie, but to craft the story that is the Big Lebowski takes a pretty good head on your shoulders. One of the Coen's best, and one of the best movies to come out in recent memory is Birdman. This movie is fantastic. Absolutely deserving of its Best Picture win. An excellent film. Talk about the cast on this thing. Edward Norton in one of those roles that ought to be at the top of his resume from now on. Probably Michael Keaton's best performance ever. We got Emma Stone, Naomi Watts, Zach Galifianakis, another one of my personal heroes, making an appearance in a straight up drama. This movie has a lot to say, and it says it in a very entertaining fashion, a very impressive fashion. This whole movie is shot to look like one take. The amount of precision that would have taken shows that they had absolute control over their project, and that shows in that the movie is pretty much perfect. So, Birdman. Also love what it says about movies right now. Love what it says about our culture. The whole bit with Birdman, Michael Keaton, Batman, superheroes. Birdman, it's got a lot to say, and it's really, really well done. Black Swan. Shoot. Who is it? Darren Aronofsky. This movie is fucking nuts. This movie got under my skin worse than most any other movie I've ever seen. This thing gave me the chills, and it's excellent. Same director as Requiem for a Dream. And I think a lot of the things that were good in that film are also apparent here, but even perfected. Black Swan is a chilling movie. It's effective in that it warps things that are wholesome, and I think that makes for a really haunting film. And the visuals in this thing are also on point. You also talk about the things that people, Natalie Portman, went through in order to pull this thing off. It's incredible, and it paid off. It shows in that this is a great product, a great movie. Probably not for kids. Just I don't know. Like this is far from some kind of Swan Princess knockoff, guys. Blade Runner. The final cut, as far as like all of the different versions of Blade Runner, I'm not sure. The first version I watched was, I believe, the original, and I didn't really like it, but at the same time, I was pretty young. This was quite a long time ago. This was actually one of the first R-rated movies that I ever saw. And I just wasn't ready for it. Now, of course, I rewatched this version much later, and I loved it. I think this movie is fantastic. I think its visual sense is great. It's one of Ridley Scott's best, if not his best. Harrison Ford's pretty great. The whole Tears in the Rain bit, excellent. So, I think the final cut is probably the way to go. I enjoyed the movie more. I appreciated it more when I watched that version, but that's might just be a difference in maturation kind of thing. That I saw it at a different time, and I thought it was great. Glad to own this thing on Blu-ray. The restoration's great, to my eyes, and Blade Runner is a science fiction must. Blade Runner. It's one of those movies that you just have to ask, like, that got made, and that means that there's just hope for everything. It's a kind of movie that easily could have descended into something Star Warsy, commercial sci-fi, and it doesn't, and people love it for that to this day. Castaway, this coming from Robert Zemeckis, who, why the fuck don't people talk about Robert Zemeckis? The guy has really clocked in some incredible shit, and Castaway is a movie that, it just does it for me. This movie is pretty damn emotional. The little bit with Wilson, yeah, You know what I'm talking about if you've seen the movie. Pretty powerful stuff. It has been some time since I watched this, so I don't feel like saying more. But again, pretty powerful movie. And Tom Hanks. I mean, Tom Hanks is a plus in anything. Anything, even Lady Killers. Always a plus. And I've also got all the Bond I need right here with the now outdated, incomplete Daniel Craig collection, which includes Casino Royale, Quantum of Solace, and Skyfall. So let's talk about this. Casino Royale is one of the greatest action movies of all time. It has a perfect sense of balance between, realism and fun James Bond type action. The choreography of each sequence is phenomenal. A well done poker scene, with big money on the line, high stakes, just really draws me in. As I imagine it draws in many people, and Casino Royale has it. It's got great scenes of tension that show a lot about characters. Some of my favorite scenes in any movie, really. Daniel Craig is Bond to me. I've seen a few other James Bond movies, and I think they're kind of stupid. It's totally cool. People like them. I get it. Not my thing. There's a bit too much cheese coming off those for me. So we got Casino Royale. Quantum of Solace might be the worst movie that I own on Blu-ray. I actually hadn't seen it when I purchased this collection. It was just kind of like the Skyfall, Casino Royale. Hey, sure. And this movie, we'll make a sandwich. We'll make a turd sandwich. Quantum of Solace, yeah. It thinks it's a Bourne movie. It treats the Bond character all wrong. I talked about it in a log. I think I said that there's clearly money going into the thing, and you just can't appreciate it because of how poorly shot the film is. I watched this movie once just because I own it, and I'm never going to revisit it because it sucks. But thankfully, Skyfall is great. We're going back to Sam Mendes with this one, who has a very good visual sense to him as a director. Love how they couldn't maintain some kind of consistency between the discs, but hey, you can't even tell. It's closed. Again, Casino Royale is by far my favorite, but Skyfall, it's got a lot going for it. It explores the character of Bond really well. Javier Bardem coming off, of course, No Country for Old Men. Amazing. Fantastic. Love it. Love the guy. Probably the strongest villain in any of this kind of Bond reboot thing that we've got going on with Daniel Craig, even though Mads is also fantastic in my mind. So, Skyfall, it's good. I like whipping it out every once in a while for whenever we're in the mood to make it a double feature, because Casino Royale is the way to go. Just as a point of clarification, because we're going alphabetical, and some people may think that I was going for Casino with that. No, this is filed under Craig. Just to be clear. I'm going alphabetical. There's sort of a sense to this collection that only I understand. But then to any collection, it's either organized by keyword or the last name of the key contributor. So in this case, Craig comes after Castaway. And that's followed by The Dark Knight, which, was a little movie called The Dark Knight. I'm really surprised at how poorly this thing did at the box office. Not many people know about this thing. It did win a couple Oscars. But it's good. It's good. And, and I think that it doesn't get enough recognition. That's The Dark Knight. That's all I'm going to say about it. Glad to own this thing on Blu-ray. The cast is pretty good. If you haven't seen this thing, check it out. Possibly the best superhero movie ever made. More than just a superhero film. It transcends the genre. It's got a great cast. It says things about things greater than just the stakes of a superhero film. It's really well directed. It has a nice visual sense to it. The score, love it. Best in the trilogy in my book, and possibly the best that the genre has offered so far. I'm sure we're going to get many more superhero films before we're done here. All this, just, I guess, to mention, because anyone that's concerned that I don't own The Dark Knight Rises, it's decent. It's a letdown after the first two films. It's one of Nolan's weakest, but it's still far superior to anything that DC's putting out right now. So, you know, if I ever find it in the Blu-ray bin, hey, maybe I'll pick it up. Last movie that we're talking about today. That's 25, guys, after this. It's not really 25. That's 24. Here we go. Quentin Tarantino's Death Proof is amazing. This film is so great. People really like to bag on it. For some reason, I think there's like this feeling that Tarantino has to have made a bad movie at this point. I mean, he's got like 8. He can't be 8 for 8 or 9 for 9 if you count Kill Bill as 2 films. He's got to have something bad, and I guess that's Death Proof. But in my mind, this is like his 4th or 5th best film. There are not very many things that I have seen like this. And by that, I mean only really like the other grindhouse type projects, like maybe things that Robert Rodriguez and Tarantino himself have done. I'm looking at From Dusk Till Dawn. But again, that's him. Death Proof is a extremely unique experience, and it's amazing to see someone this talented make something so intentionally shitty. This movie does things that no other film does. It's impossible to know what's coming next. It's wonderfully self-aware. The ending to this film is one of my favorite moments. It's one of my favorite moments that are in a movie. It's a movie moment, and it's one of my favorite movie moments of all time. So, Tarantino's Death Proof. Anybody that's holding out on this thing because they're like, oh, you know, it's like that one movie that Tarantino made, and sometimes he talks about how he didn't quite love how it turned out. Check it out. It's great. It's a little weird. Do not introduce yourself to Tarantino with this film. But, you know, after you watch Pulp Fiction, after maybe Inglourious Bastards, or, I don't know, like Kill Bill, treat yourself. Kind of funny story. The first time I actually watched this, so I had heard that there were portions of the film missing intentionally, like as if there was a roll of film missing. Turns out, and that's a thing. Yes, that's part of it, but turns out I just had a shitty DVD that loved to skip forward, so I missed about a quarter of the film the first time I watched this. Didn't really make a difference, and I guess that says something about the movie, and that I can overlook certain things about him because it's clearly intentional that the film's like that. This thing is super unique. Again, check it out. And that's the first portion of the Blu-ray collection. We're doing this as a pretty raw format, of course. There's not going to be a ton of edits in this thing, but you already know that. You watched the video. If you're watching well into the future after this video has been uploaded, I'm sure there's about to be a link to a playlist where you can watch all of the segments of the Blu-ray collection. But again, thank you for watching this video. If you enjoyed this, maybe think about hitting that like button for me. What do you guys think of these movies that we talked about, of these specific releases? Do you want to comment on the superiority of the Blu-ray format? Hit up that comment section. If you're new here, think about subscribing to catch more Blu-ray updates. Again, just thanks so much for watching. My name's Austin. The binge goes on. We're going to be doing more of these. But for now, I'm afraid this is